Hello children and welcome to the bedtime story. So I've come to the enchanted forest to tell you the story and it's called The Brave Knight. I've brought Sophie along from one of my stories from Sophie's Spectacles because this story is about a knight that meets a group of school children. Off we go, The Brave Knight. One day there was a knight named John. He really was a courageous one. This tale is of this brave young knight who travelled in time to modern day life. Instead of fighting to the death, of clutching for dear life, gasping for breath, saving the king from the dragon's fire, or keeping watch from the tall tower's spire. Oh no, you would be very wrong to think of our knight, the heroic Sir John, had gone to rescue a princess. No, this may cause you some distress. Upon this day, one morning bright, alas, Sir John was out of sight. But how and why? Where must he be? The time of day was morning tea. What I have not begun to say, John had woken up quite grey. He'd tossed and turned the night before, kept awake by a slamming door. Crash and smash, bang and boom, not one wink of sleep in that room. Oh, poor Sir John. So John got up from his bed. He yawned aloud, and scratched his head. He clutched the door tight with his hand, then slammed it shut with great command. "Now that's enough," Sir John did yell. However, there is more to tell. With a creak and a crack, the bolt was lifted, as back to sleep the tired knight drifted. Then the wind blew it open with an almighty thump, and out of bed Sir John fell with a bump. Now, as he walked out to the hall and glanced around at the wall, the pictures were gone of Edward the King. Instead, there was a lady with a diamond ring. Queen Elizabeth, the placard read. Oh goodness, oh gosh, could King Edward IV be dead? Surely not, Sir John was in shock. There in front of him was a grandfather clock. Of course this had not been invented yet. Sir John was from the Middle Ages, let's not forget. He rubbed his eyes and shook his head. And thought, I must go back to bed. He's very tired. It was too late, his room no more, no suit of armour on the floor, no coat of arms, no sword, no shield, the window shut, and some were sealed. Voices echoed all around. From down the corridor came the sound of children's voices chatting away. "This is the castle of King Edward IV, a voice did say. The local school were on a trip. Sir John's timeline had done a flip. He'd been pushed forward to century 21, and poor John felt rather glum. "Pleased to meet you, sir," said little Holly Cox. She glared a little, then said, "Where's your socks?" "In fact, why are you here?" said little Holly, very clear. With dark brown hair and a handsome grin, Sir John was tall and his legs were slim, a traditionally polite young man who caught the eye of the whole school clan. He wore an undergarment made of quilt. This made him look of muscular build. His eyes were blue, his nose was small, and he stood courageous, strong and tall. "I know you must be our guide," a little boy called Benjamin cried. I'm afraid there's been a terrible mistake. What's going on, for goodness sake?" Sir John could not believe his eyes. Children wearing shirts and ties? All staring standing in a row, so smart and clean from head to toe. Sir John took a moment and said, I seem to have bumped my head. Could you tell me the century we are in?" Sir John's face had turned quite grim. Miss Burrows, the class teacher, smiled. Around the night the children piled. "It's the 21st century, of course," Benjamin said. Sir John looked puzzled, shook his head. "Something has gone terribly wrong. I'm from 1461. That was many centuries ago. Oh goodness gosh, oh no." Miss Burrows laughed and flicked her hair. She instructed the children to get into pairs. This teacher just would not understand. Sir John, it seemed, was not in command. "Where are you taking us?" the teacher asked, but Sir John looked up and gasped. He really had no choice. So he coughed a little and cleared his voice. "I will take you to the throne room," said John. He thought to himself, King Edward couldn't be gone. So off they went down the grand staircase, with sheer bewilderment shown on his face. As they approached this magnificent room, a few of the children hummed a tune. Suddenly the door opened wide. The children were amazed at what stood inside. King Edward IV sat on his throne. "Oh, this is amazing! I really am home!" But as Sir John looked closer, he shouted, "No, this man is an imposter!" "This isn't real," said Maisie Brown. "It's just people acting. Oh, do sit down." But Sir John just stared with mouth open wide. "I really need to go outside." Sir John ran out to the hall. "King Edward," he began to call, but alas, no reply. "Oh, help me, please. Oh, why? Oh, why?" Oh, dear. Out into the castle garden. "Excuse me, sir. I beg your pardon. I think I know what to do." "Sir John the Brave, it is you." Little Benjamin held out a book. "Here, sir, please, take a look. A book of nights from the past. You really need to get home fast." Sir John was in a jousting competition. To get him home would be a mission. In order to get back soon, Sir John entered a fight that afternoon. It said in the book, on this very day, Sir John had won a shield for valiant play. Wow! He was fighting the knight Sir James the Strong, but something had gone terribly wrong. While battling to win the prize, Sir John had injured one of his eyes. But he continued to fight. He struggled on with all his might. "We must enter you into the competition," Benjamin said. "Oh, yes, of course," Sir John agreed with nodded head. Little Benjamin was quite concerned. He looked up to the sky. The weather had turned. The clouds had changed from white to grey. A thunderstorm was on its way. The crowds gathered outside. Sir John on his horse began to ride. He was dressed in his armoured suit, protected well from head to boot. The competition began to start. Sir John could hear his beating heart, thundering forward with his lance. Sir John, he was given just one chance. Sir James, the actor on his horse, came battling forward right on course. Benjamin shouted, 10 seconds to go! Crash and bang the thunder rolled, and as the lances smashed each knight, there came a very tremendous sight. The lightning forked onto the lance, and Benjamin took his final glance at Sir John, the brave knight from the past. The crowd, they looked amazed and gasped. "It's worked!" little Benjamin screamed. "He's gone back to the past!" His face, it beamed. Sir John, he had disappeared. "Hooray, yippee!" Benjamin cheered. Sir John was back in 1461. He looked around and the sun it shone. "Sir John," King Edward began, "you really are a brave young man. I now name you the valiant Sir John. To me you are just like a son." With sword and shield, Sir John was proud. He waved and thanked his watching crowd. This story is of past and present, and that meeting children can be pleasant. Also, some things can happen that are strange, but most of all, that times they change. So children, that's my story of the Brave Knight. I really enjoyed telling it to you, and I really hope you enjoyed it. So thank you for a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Good night.